In a large and beautiful garden, where butterflies danced among the flowers and birds chirped, there were two groups of friends. Girls group, Layla, Noor, and Zara, and boys group, Ahmed, Khalid, and Fairs. They loved to play in the garden, but they rarely played together. Layla loved exploring new places. Noor was skilled at solving puzzles, and Zara knew everything about plants and flowers. On the other side of the park, Ahmed was the brave leader, Khalid was quick-witted, and Faris loved exciting adventures. One sunny morning, while Layla and Noor were looking for a new place to play, they found an old wooden box under a huge oak tree. The box was covered in moss, and when they opened it, they found an old, worn map. At the same time, Ahmed, Khalid, and Fairs were playing treasure hunt near the small river in the park. Suddenly, the knight noticed something shining among the rocks. It was an ancient piece of metal with a strange inscription on it, and when they turned it over, they found it was part of a map. The two groups met by chance at the large garden fountain. Layla was holding the tattered map, while Ahmed was holding the coin. Noor looked at the piece and said, "This piece completes our map." The boys hesitated at first, but we were following this map. Khalid said, "Maybe if we work together, we can solve the puzzle faster," Zara replied gently. Ahmed looked at the two maps, then at his friends, and nodded. The two groups gathered around the completed map. The map pointed to the Cave of Whispers in the farthest corner of the garden. It was a place no one had ever been to before. The cave looked a bit scary, but curiosity overcame fear. Everyone headed towards the Cave of Whispers. Layla led the way, carefully following the markers on the map. Ahmed was helping her remove the tangled branches, while Noor was reading the strange inscriptions on the rocks. They reached the entrance to the cave. It was dark and cold, and strange sounds came from it, like whispers. Fairs held Khalid's hand, while Zara encouraged herself, and said, "Don't be afraid. The real adventures begin here." Everyone entered the cave cautiously. The whispers grew louder, as if beckoning them to go deeper. What will they find in the Cave of Whispers? This is the story of a new adventure that has just begun. An adventure that will unite girls and boys in one fearless team. After entering the Cave of Whispers, the children found themselves in a narrow, dark passage. Whispers filled the air. They sound like winds passing through the rocks, or maybe much older sounds. Layla grabbed a small flashlight she had brought and lit the way ahead. They advanced slowly, step by step. Noor listened carefully to the whispers, trying to decipher them. "It's not just wind," she said. "It sounds like words, but they're so old I don't understand them." Suddenly, Faris stopped. "Look," he whispered. On one of the rock walls were ancient, faded drawings of strange animals and geometric shapes. Khalid was the first to approach, trying to understand what these drawings meant. "These drawings tell a story," Zara said, gently touching the inscriptions. "It describes what this garden was like long ago, and how these caves were a refuge for ancient creatures." While they were studying the drawings, Ahmed noticed a small gap in the ground covered by some stones. What if the whispers are coming from here? He wondered. They tried to move the stones, but they were too heavy. "Wait," Noor said. "Remember the riddle we found on the map? It was talking about the key to the rock. Maybe we need something to open this gap." Noor began looking around for anything that could help them. After a while, Layla found a small hand-shaped rock, hidden behind a creeping plant. "Could this be the rock key?" I asked. Noor grabbed the rock and tried to place it in different places around the gap. When Noor placed it in a certain cavity next to the gap, they heard a soft cracking sound. Then the stones slowly began to move, revealing a secret passageway. The whispers were now louder and clearer, as if welcoming them. Inside the secret passage, they found a small room, lit by a dim light filtering through a crack in the ceiling. In the middle, there was a large stone tablet with shiny inscriptions on it, and underneath it was a small wooden box. They opened the box carefully. There was no gold or jewels inside, but there were small, shiny seeds and an ancient book covered in symbols. "This isn't the end of the adventure," Ahmed said excitedly. "It's just the beginning of an even bigger adventure." Everyone smiled, knowing that their new friendship would make every adventure possible. After discovering the shiny seeds and the old book, The children sat in the small room, the dim light illuminating their curious faces. Noor held the book carefully, while Layla examined the shiny seeds between her fingers. "What do you think this book tells us?" Ahmed asked, pointing to the strange symbols on its cover. "And these seeds, are they ordinary seeds?" Ferris added, looking at the seeds carefully. Zara, who was the best at understanding ancient stories, opened the book cautiously. The pages were yellow and brittle, and the symbols inside seemed to be dancing. "It's a very old language, but I can see some familiar words here and there." Zara began to read in a low voice, slowly translating some sentences. "The book is about a magical garden, and about seeds that carry the light of the stars, and about whispers that protect the garden from forgetfulness." The whispers in the cave now seemed to rhyme with her words. "So, the whispers are the guardians of the garden," whispered Layla, "and these seeds, are they from that magical garden?" Layla held a shiny seed, feeling a slight warmth emanating from it. "The book says that seeds need 3 things to grow: moonlight, water from a secret spring, and an ancient password." "But where do we find a secret spring and a password?" said Zara, tracing a line with her finger. Khalid thought aloud. Perhaps the secret spring is the source of the whispers? Everyone looked at the gap they had just discovered. "But how do we get to the water?" "Password!" Noor suddenly shouted. "Remember the drawings on the wall? Maybe the password is hidden there." Noor quickly returned to the corridor they came from, followed by Zara in front of the ancient drawings. Noor and Zara began to examine each symbol carefully. "Look, Zara, this symbol looks like a blooming flower, and this one looks like a drop of water," Noor said. "And this symbol, it looks like the shape of the cave itself." After a moment, Khalid pointed to a series of symbols that seemed to connect together. "These aren't just drawings, they're letters. Could this be the password?" he said. Everyone looked at each other excitedly, their adventure about to take a new and exciting turn. After Khalid pointed to the symbols, the children gathered around the wall excitedly. The symbols seemed to glow with a dim light, as if she was waiting for them to discover her secret. Zara took Noor's hand, and the two of them began tracing the symbols with their fingers. "It's not just letters, it's a story," Zara whispered. "Each symbol represents part of a sentence. This symbol means light. This one means water. This one means garden. So, the password is waterlight for the garden," Ahmed exclaimed. "But how do we use it? Do we say it out loud?" Khaled thought for a moment, then said, "The book mentioned the whispers that protect the garden. Perhaps we should whisper the words, just like the whispers we heard in the cave." Everyone agreed. They stood in front of the wall, closed their eyes, and whispered together in a soft, almost inaudible voice, "The light of the water for the garden." Suddenly, the cavern shook gently, and a faint blue glow emerged from the gap in the ground they had discovered earlier. The whispers began to grow louder, as if welcoming them. A small stream of shimmering water flowed from the gap, glowing with a faint blue light. It was clear and cool, as if it held the secrets of the cave with it. "It's the secret spring of water," Layla exclaimed happily, reaching out to touch the cool water. "Now, we have water. But what about moonlight? We're deep in the cave." Zara looked at the book again. "The book says that moonlight can be a symbol too. Maybe we don't need the real moon, but something that represents its light." Noor thought carefully. She remembered the shiny seeds they had found. Seeds. They shine like stars, and perhaps they carry a light of their own. She held up one of the seeds. A faint light began to emanate from it, illuminating their faces. "Perhaps this is a sign from the moonlight." "That's right, light," said Zara, her eyes shining with excitement. "If seeds carry a light of their own, let's try to combine it with the secret water. Maybe this is what the book means by the light of water for the garden." Khaled nodded in agreement. "We need to find a suitable place to put the seeds in the water, a place that can receive both light and water." He looked around the cave, searching for a perfect spot. Layla found a flat rock near the water spring. "Here," she shouted. "We can put the seeds here, where the water flows directly over it." Noor cautiously grabbed one of the glowing seeds, her heart pounding with excitement. Noor gently dropped the seed into the shimmering stream of water. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the seed's light began to grow stronger, spreading into the water, turning it into a river of glowing blue light. It wasn't just the water that was glowing. The symbols engraved on the wall near the water began to glow brightly. As if waking up, the ground shook again. But this time, the shaking was stronger and more noticeable. A portion of the wall slowly opened, revealing a dark passageway they had never seen before. The air coming out of the corridor was warm and fresh, carrying the scent of flowers and damp earth. "It's the entrance to the garden," whispered Ferris, his eyes widening in surprise. "We did it. We found the water light for the garden." Cautiously, they stepped into the corridor. It was dark at first, but the blue light glowing from the water and seeds behind them cast strange shadows on the walls. After a few steps, the corridor widened, and they found themselves in a place they had never imagined. It was an underground garden, filled with glowing plants and colorful flowers that glow in the dark. The air was filled with the sweet fragrance, and the sound of trickling water filled the air. The garden was alive, as if it had been waiting for them for a long time. They had finally found the secret cave of whispers. The underground garden was an incredible sight. The flowers were glowing in rainbow colors. The plants glowed in emerald green, and every corner whispered a story. "Look," whispered a flower, pointing to a winding path of light weaving between the plants. "Do you hear that? It sounds like singing." They followed the glowing path, their hearts pounding with excitement. The sound grew clearer, like a secret melody calling them forward. The path led them to a shimmering pool of water, glowing with a soft blue light. A voice came from this pool, as if it were singing a soft song. They approached cautiously and saw something floating in the center of the pond. It was a giant lotus flower, its petals glowing with a bright purple light, and at its heart was a small crystal ball. "It's a crystal ball," Ahmed exclaimed. "Do you think it's making the sound?" Noor slowly reached out and gently touched the crystal ball. At that moment, a warm golden light spread from the ball, flooding the entire garden. This light wasn't just light. It revealed details they had never seen before, and make the colors brighter, as if the garden has completely awakened. "This isn't just a garden," said the knight, his eyes shining. "It's a magical place, and this ball is its key." They felt a deep connection to the garden, as if it were welcoming them in. Their adventure in this secret place full of wonders was just beginning. After touching the light of the crystal ball, the golden light began to pulsate, as if it were the heart of the garden itself. Glowing symbols appeared on the cave walls and floor, something they had never seen before. "Look," Khalid shouted, pointing to a single symbol that glowed with particular brilliance. It resembled an ancient key, carved into the rock. Zara and Ferris approached the key symbol. When Zara reached out to touch it, the symbol detached from the wall and floated into the air, transforming into an actual key that glowed a light blue color. The key floated in the air for a moment, then slowly began to drift towards a small, ornate door, hidden behind a curtain of glowing chrome that they hadn't noticed before. Layla and Ahmed followed the key. The door looked very old, covered in intricate carvings that were now beginning to glow faintly, as if it were waking up. The key slid smoothly into the keyhole. A soft click was heard, and the door slowly began to open, revealing a glimpse of what lies beyond, a tunnel twinkling with thousands of tiny lights. The children looked at each other, a mixture of excitement and anticipation on their faces. They knew this was a new and deeper adventure ahead. "Are we ready?" Noor whispered, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. As she looked at Layla, "Always," Khalid replied, smiling broadly, while Ahmed nodded in agreement. They stepped into the shimmering tunnel, leaving the glowing garden behind, excited to discover what secrets this new door held for their next adventure. As they stepped into the tunnel, a soft glow of thousands of tiny lights surrounded them, as if they were walking among the stars. The air was warm and fragrant, filling their hearts with wonder. The tunnel was not just an ordinary passage. Its walls shimmered with rainbow-colored crystals, each crystal emitting its own faint melody, blends to create a magical symphony. Suddenly, the melody stopped. A single, large crystal at the end of the tunnel glowed a deep blue. She was making one long, continuous sound, as if calling them. "What is that sound?" Layla whispered, as Noor felt a strange pull towards the crystal. "I think it's trying to tell us something." Noor slowly walked towards the blue crystal. When she placed her hand on it, she felt a slight pulse. Vague images began to appear in her mind. Ancient shapes, flowing water, and a bright light. "She's showing us a way," Noor exclaimed, pulling her hand away. "There's a river underground, and this tunnel leads to it." Khaled looked at the crystal, and then at the shimmering tunnel. "An underground river? That's amazing. But how do we get there?" "Perhaps we should follow the voice?" Zara suggested, noting that the crystal was still emitting its solo melody. "It sounds like a clue." They followed the sound, and went deeper into the shimmering tunnel, each step bringing them closer to the secret river. And from an adventure they could never have dreamed of. Everyone agreed. Curiosity drove them more than any fear. This tunnel was not just a passage. It was a story in itself. As they delved deeper into the tunnel, the brilliant glow of the crystals slowly began to fade, replaced by a light dampness in the air. The voice of the blue crystal was guiding them, louder and clearer with each step. It wasn't long before a faint hum began, then a gentle roar, mixing with the crystal's melody. Do you hear that?" Ahmed whispered, as Khaled's eyes widened in surprise. "It's the sound of water." After a few more steps, the tunnel suddenly widened, opening into a vast space. It was a huge underground hall. "It is illuminated by blue and green glows from an unseen source. And in the heart of this hall, there was a river. It was no ordinary river. Its waters glowed a heavenly blue, as if carrying falling stars. They flow quietly through the cave." "It's amazing," Layla exclaimed, reaching out to touch the sparkling water. It was cool and refreshing. She felt a light energy running through her fingertips. As they contemplated the beauty of the river, they noticed subtle movements beneath the surface. They were small fish, glowing in vivid colors. They swim in the shimmering waters, like living jewels. "How will we cross this river?" Ferris asked, looking at the opposite bank, which seemed far away. "Is there a bridge or another road?" Suddenly, something floating quietly near the bank caught their attention. It was a small boat made of transparent material that glowed an emerald green, as if it was waiting for them. "A boat," Noor exclaimed. "It looks like it was made especially for us." Khaled approached cautiously, reaching out to touch the glowing boat. They climbed one by one into the boat, which was wide enough to accommodate them all with a gentle push. The boat began to glide smoothly across the glowing surface of the river, carrying them into the unknown. As the boat glided gently across the glowing surface of the river, they felt a cool breeze touch their faces. The blue and green lights around them painted a magical picture on the high cave walls, as if the river itself were a trail of stars. "Look," Ahmed shouted, pointing ahead. In the distance, strange rock formations began to appear, taking on shapes they had never seen before, like giant natural sculptures. Some formations hung from the ceiling like massive stone curtains, while others rose from the water like towering towers. Each one glowed with its own color, creating a kaleidoscope of shimmering hues. "This is more beautiful than anything I've ever seen in my life," Layla whispered, reaching out to trace the lines of a nearby rock formation. The surface was smooth and cool to the touch. As they passed through this glowing rocky maze, they noticed that the river was getting a little narrower, and the blue glow of the water became more intense. Suddenly, they heard a faint sound, like a whisper. It echoed through the rock formations. It wasn't the sound of the blue crystal, but something else, more mysterious. "What is that sound?" Ferris asked as the boat slowly stopped. The whispering was getting louder, as if beckoning them forward. Noor looked at the blue crystal she was holding. It was now glowing even brighter. It pulsates with a gentle rhythm, as if interacting with mysterious whispers. "I think we're getting close to something important," Layla said quietly. "These whispers, I feel like they're trying to tell us something." With every pulse of the crystal, every whisper of the cave, they felt drawn deeper and deeper into the heart of this secret world, ready for whatever adventure awaited them.